Yo, what up, y'all? Terry Warfield. I hope you're having a good day so far. If this is your first time here, a big fat welcome to you. And if you're part of the fam, you're part of the squad, and you came back, welcome back. Let me apologize in advance for my smoke detector. I swear I just changed that battery. I probably need to stop buying dollar store batteries. But anyways, I have right here the Sony A7S3 in my hand, and also my baby, the Sony A7 III right here also. I gotta tell you a story about the Sony A7S3. Now, those of you who follow me know how excited I've been for the last who knows how long for this camera. And today I'm not really that excited. Let me explain, okay? So this is not mine. I ordered one from BH Photo, but apparently mine is in the back of their warehouse along with the frogs and the mice and all that stuff because it's nowhere to be found. It hasn't shipped yet. Fortunately, I got a notification that it should be shipping sometime this week. So because my order got jacked up in a nutshell, so my folks over at Sony told me, hey Terry, we got you. We'll send you a loaner that you can use for about a week. So even though I'm very, very happy to finally have a Sony A7S III in my hand, she's not mine, you know? I just can't get attached to her because she belongs to someone else. There's no telling how many hands have grabbed her and handled her, or how many houses she's been in, or how many people she's been with, how many streets she's been up and down. I want to love her, but I can't love her because she belongs to somebody else. So for now, she'll just have to be a placeholder until my camera arrives. All right, end of story time. So anyways, that's how I got this Sony A7S III. Now what I want to do in this video, I haven't even started using the A7S III yet because my big stupid self forgot to buy faster memory cards. So I have those on the way, but I want to go over the physical differences because a lot of people don't realize there is a pretty significant difference physically from the A7 III going to the A7S III. So what I'm going to do is just compare them side by side for you. Now I did put the same lens on both. I put a Viltrox 85mm, which if y'all haven't checked out the Viltrox 85, they are not perfect, but on a budget, one of the best 85s you can get. I got the V1 and the V2, so I put the same lenses on both cameras because you know sometimes the lenses can make a camera feel bigger or smaller. So we'll just start at the front, work our way around the camera, and before we get into it, make sure you subscribe and like this video if you have not done so already. Let's get into the A7S III versus the Sony A7 III size comparison. So right off the bat, you will notice that the A7S III is bigger than the A7 III, not by much, and I'm not gonna act like the A7S III is a huge camera because it's not. Remember y'all, the cameras that we had before mirrorless cameras, those was big ass cameras. These are not big cameras, but the A7S III is bigger, heavier. Matter of fact, I'll just put the dimensions on the screen for both cameras right now. All right, now as I said, both cameras are still relatively compact, and from the front they look almost the same except for the size, obviously. So there's not a lot going on the front. So let's go ahead and turn to the side with the ports. First thing you can see, again, the A7S III is definitely taller, definitely thicker. Yes, fellas, she's thick. She's definitely thick. One thing I hate about the A7 III is the freaking doors, and literally probably everybody that owns an A7 III, they hate them too, right? As you can see, like one of my doors is bent, and when you open them, they just fall, right? And all of the ports are kind of tucked up under, what is this? 1, 2, 3, 3 doors, right? So all of the ports are just jammed up under 3 doors. So what that means is basically, if I want to access my microphone port, if I want to access another port, that means I got to open up something else, which, I mean, I guess is not a big deal, but I prefer the A7S III's layout. Once we open these doors, you'll see they're a lot more sturdy. They don't just fall out all over the place. The A7S III has a full-size HDMI port, whereas the A7 III has that small punk micro HDMI, which I can't stand. Both cameras have a microphone port, also a headphone monitoring port. Both cameras also have micro USB and USB-C. However, the A7S III does do power delivery over USB-C. So that means basically you can rapidly charge the battery in the camera. Plus the A7S III does come with a charger, where the A7 III did not. But overall, the ports, the doors, they're just way better designed on the A7S III versus the A7 III. Let's flip the camera around to the back side. Now, one thing I did want to know real quick, both cameras have the eyes for the strap on the outside. However, as you see, the A7 III has these little flickety ones, but the A7S III does not do that. They go and stay wherever you put them. Another welcome addition. On the back, again, the size difference is apparent, but the layout is basically the same. The main differences here is the A7 III has a lower resolution panel. The A7S III is much higher resolution. The A7S III also flips out to the side and rotates, and it's a touch interactive menu, whereas the A7 III is just the standard Sony tabletop. The only thing you can do with the screen is touch it. And also the EVF on the A7S III is much higher resolution than the A7 III. And little small stuff I really appreciate, like the buttons on the A7S III have more travel, so they're more satisfying to push, and they also require less effort to push. The joystick on the A7S III is flatter, has more grip on it. The joystick on the A7 III is, I don't really know, it's like a nipple almost. Is that what we want to call it, like a nipple joystick? I don't like the joystick on the A7 III. The other thing you'll notice is the C1 and the record button are flipped. On the A7 III, the record button is right next to the EVF, and the C1 button is up there by the power switch. On the A7S III, the button next to the EVF is the C1 button. The record button, since this is a video camera first, is right on top. But aside from that, everything is basically, as far as the layout, is the same. Now, one thing I didn't cover is the grip. So we might as well turn the camera on its backside so you can see the difference in the grip. Now, I can't say I've had a problem with the grip on the A7 III. I don't have like mammoth size hands. I mean, they're not big, they're not small, they're kind of average. I guess I'm just average. But, you know, when you're holding the A7 III, especially with heavier lenses, that pinky hangs off the end. Well, the grip on the A7S III is much deeper and much more substantial, and compared to the A7 III, this is my grip where my pinky kind of hangs off the bottom. On the A7S III, my hand feels the grip, so it is much more comfortable and also much easier to hold when you got bigger lenses on there for longer amounts of time. Now let's move to the top view. Again, the size difference is apparent. Both wheels on top, so the mode dial and the exposure comp dial on the A7S III have locks on them, whereas the A7 III does not, which is very annoying on the A7 III, because changing that exposure comp, that mess happens all the time, and it's so annoying, yo. And you'll also notice that the wheel that typically controls the shutter on the A7 III is kind of recessed into the body. On the A7S III, it basically sits right on top. So basically the A7S III has the A7R4's body. So if you have one of those, you kind of know the differences already. Now let's flip to the final side. That's going to be the right side of the camera, where you can see really how much deeper the grip is compared from the A7 III to the A7S III. Also, another difference, when you go to flick open the doors for the memory cards, when you flick the A7 III open, all you do is push the lever down and the door flies open to reveal the 2 memory card slots. On the A7S III, you got to push the lever down, push the door back towards the rear of the camera, then let it go, then it opens up. It seems like a much more secure design, even though I've never had problems with the A7 III door. But inside the A7S III, you get those 2 fancy dancy card slots that accept SD, and also the new CF Express Type A slots. I hope this was helpful to you people that are possibly thinking about switching from the A7 III to the A7S III, or maybe you got an A7R III and you maybe want to switch to the A7S III. This is a pretty beefy camera by Sony standard, and is right up there basically with the A7R4. Now, I will have a ton of videos on the A7S III coming down the pipeline. I'm still going to do my unboxing when my camera gets here. And instead of doing the typical reviews that everybody's been doing on YouTube, I'm gonna try to find those pockets that people aren't talking about that will be useful for people who are, you know, watching videos. Because if you're like me, you probably already watched every single A7S III video on YouTube already. But anyways, that's all I got for you today, man. I hope y'all enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll catch y'all on the next one. So till next time, peace and chicken grease. I'm out, Terry Warfield. Peace.